All right, we are in week 3. I was at CUE this week, which is a computer using educator conference. If you get a chance to go, it is a wonderful conference. It usually is in March in Palm Springs, and it's all about educational technology and how to use it in the classroom, and just by fabulous teachers and administrators. Strongly recommend the conference. It's a great place to spend some time. Let's see. Next slide. So one of the things that we talked about was preparing our kids, and we talked about this all over the conference, of preparing them for the 21st century. And one of the presenters said, it's not, we're 18 years into the 21st century. Let's stop talking about the 21st century skills and let's just talk about life skills. And these were some of the things that they talked about. Being able to problem solve and being comfortable with change, because we don't know what the world's going to look like in 10 years or even 20 years from now. We don't know what that's going to look like because it's changing so rapidly. Being able to evaluate sources and honor diversity and work together, these are the things that we need our kids to do, and we need to give them practice doing that in our classrooms. The future's uncertain, and we don't know what it looks like, and we can't imagine what it will look like because it's been changing so quickly. And one of the things that they are predicting that is in 10 years, which is not that far away, that many unskilled jobs will be replaced by robots. That's not that long ago. That's not too long from now. There are trucks that are already being driven by robots. We already have robots in warehouses and at kiosks or ordering, when you go into places to order, that are already doing that, and you can pay. You don't have to have the waiter come back. If you're interested in this, you can look at a website called Will Robots Take My Job? Don't worry, teachers are not likely to have this because our job is very unpredictable. We work with people and we don't have a predictable job. Every hour it can be different. But people who have very predictable jobs, it's likely that their job can be taken over by robots. And so we need to have our kids prepared for jobs that can be unpredictable, and that they need to be thinking all the time. This is also an illustration of how the world changes. So, when the telephone was invented, it took almost 80 years to reach 100 million users in the world. In contrast to that, the mobile phone took less than 20 years to reach 100 million users. Candy Crush, less than 2 years to reach 100 million users. Kind of looks at our priorities. And interestingly, Pokemon Go, less than a weekend to reach 100 million users. That's how fast the world is changing. Hold on to your hats. It's only going to get faster. So here's a nice infographic, and I included some infographics in our presentation this week because you're going to be making one. In 2009, there was a 5-to-1 computer ratio, and now it's almost 1-to-1 in most places. I thought it was interesting that in 2013, 68% of the kids said that their teacher used technology effectively, which I thought was very generous of the students. I don't agree with that, but I would say that teachers use it, but I don't know that they use it effectively. And that 90% of the teachers had a laptop or PC in their classroom. So we know that even in education, we've got the technology. Now we've just got to use it effectively to make sure we're meeting the needs of our kids. So what's new in education? We've got the traditional learning environments, which are, teacher-centered compared to the student-centered, single media to multimedia. You've got the isolated work compared to the collaborative work. And I'm sure you've seen this before, passive to active. But what's interesting is this is not new. This was sent out by the U.S. Department of Education in 1998. That's a long time ago, actually. Really almost a generation ago. The problem is changing the way people teach is very, very difficult. Most of us teach the way we were taught because you develop a schema for teaching when you were a child. And that's how you think teaching should be. So moving people into a different schema of teaching is extremely difficult. We should be giving people more support to make these changes and kind of insisting that they make these changes instead of just letting them close the door and do what they want. We should be giving them coaching. We should be in their classroom helping them do this. We should have them look at other people's work, really helping people move along the continuum. It's been a while, and we need to start getting them into the new teaching environment. So Michael Fullan talks a lot about change in education. You'll be doing a lot more work with him. He talks about right drivers and wrong drivers, not in this course, but in the courses to come. And he talks about pedagogy is the driver. Pedagogy is how we make the change. So our strategies, how we instruct our kids, and technology is the accelerator. Technology is not going to change how we do something, and it's not what we should be putting in classrooms until we change pedagogy. So a good teacher, given technology, becomes a great teacher. A poor teacher, given technology, is just going to be an awful teacher because it's just going to exacerbate their poor skills. So we start on the pedagogy and then add the technology for teachers. He also talks about what we have to do with technology integration, and it's got to be engaging, it's got to be efficient, which is why I love Google Classroom. It's easy to use. It's, before it was really hard to get technology integrated. Now it's super easy. It's got to be ubiquitous, which means it's got to work all the time. So like your wireless or your internet, it's got to be there all the time. And it's got to be used for real life problem solving, not just worksheets and nonsense. Last week we did some social media, and some of you were super comfortable with it, some of you really weren't. And I include this infographic, another infographic, about millennials. And you're probably thinking, well, why? Why millennials? They're not in our classrooms. They're not, but they are your parents. Your parents are probably millennials or maybe a little bit older, and they're on social media, probably about 3 to 5 hours a day. So if that's what they're using to communicate, we need to be there too. The most effective way to get a hold of them is through social media. So if we're doing newsletters or flyers, you need to stop that. Please stop. They're not getting out of the backpack. They're just, no one's looking at that anymore. And I'm not saying to stop a website, but if it's the only way you digitally communicate, you need to add to it. So right now, you need to start using these tools. And you can use more than one. You don't have to just use one of them. I just heard about the Blooms app, and it looks like it's super cool. Class Dojo, I know a lot of you use. You should be putting something on there every day about what you're doing in class. I do want to caution you to get parent permission, so make sure that you have sign off that you can use their email and have their kid's picture. No student names and faces together. So don't put Samuel Cooksey's face with his name tag in Mrs. Jones' class at Harrington School. Okay, don't put too much information on there, but it's okay for him to be holding his science experiment. And then you put something about, oh, we're doing a science experiment on volcanoes. Or you can put the writing prompt on Twitter and say, this was our writing prompt today, parents. Ask your kid about what they wrote about. It solves that problem. So when kids go home and mom and dad says, what did you do in school today? And they say nothing. They can say, well, your writing prompt was this. What'd you write about? Then there's a great conversation. It gives parents that door into the classroom because they really do want to know what's going on, and lets them talk to their kids about what's happening in the classroom. So please start using those tools because parents really desperately want to be connected to the classroom. It helps them think better of what's going on and be connected to the community. So think about how you're going to support your innovators, not only your kids, but your parents. You've got a discussion board this week. Keep up in those readings. I know there's a lot. And your videos, you got a great little video. The one I really liked was the classroom in the cloud, the guy in India that was really cool. You've got an infographic group, so you can start kind of talking about that. And you've got a research paper due on March 25th. APA format, I'm going to really caution you, it's got to be an APA format. 1,000 words, so it's not super long, but you got to use that APA format. Give me a question or send me a question if you have any, and I hope you have a great week.